going to have a webinar for you. And I don't know if any of you that actually participated in the SLOConf. If you haven't, it's one of our greatest conference that just ended last week. We have a ton of great resources for you to go check out, including the lab that we're going to go through today. So this actually is available, a SLOConf Labs Nobl9. So if you are not following along today, you can certainly go back, and all of the resources that I'm covering today are going to be available right here and then. And this is actually going to play as our agenda. So two of the main things that you need for this demo / webinar is that you need to create a Nobl9 free account, and you also need to create a Pingdom free accounts. Just keep in mind that for both of them, you can't use your Gmail account. It needs to be a company email address in either of the cases. So just I already have done those because I didn't want to spend too much time on that, and just have it ready for you all so we can just jump right in. We have our table of content here, which is basically what we're going to go through. We already created the account for Pingdom. We're going to go ahead and connect the Pingdom data source to Nobl9. And then once we do that, we're going to create a service. And then after that, we're going to walk through how to create your first SLO. And then we're going to create an alert and send some notifications to Slack and take a look at it together. And I got some more interesting things at the end, which are not here. So if you're here, you're going to see those. So let's get it started. For your Pingdom accounts, if you're not familiar with Pingdom, it's one of the greatest tools that is out there that allows you to actually see the availability or the latency of any of the websites, APIs that you have as well. This is some feature that the other monitoring tools such as New Relic, Datadogs, all of those also offer, but Pingdom is really focused on those uptimes or real user monitorings and the speed of your space, as you can see here. And in Nobl9, Pingdom is one of our closest partner that we allow creating different ping monitors, or also transaction is something that we're supporting as of recent as well. So today we're going to go ahead and work on the uptime. It's very simple. Let's go ahead and get it started. With one click, you come to the informations, and then you're going to go ahead and add a check. So name of the check, we basically can actually use any websites that we want. So I'm going to go ahead and then I should have this. So let's just say Nobl9, Nobl9.com. We're going to go ahead and grab this information right here and put that and drop it in our check. We're going to make sure the interval is on 1 minute. So you can do it in multiple different ones, but we're just going to keep it as 1 minute. Actually, sorry, we're going to just say Nobl9 website. And down here, we're going to leave it at HTTPS. We're going to drop our websites down here. Then you can choose wherever you want to create that. We want to create that test from. We got our North America. We're just going to leave it as that. And down here, you really don't need to make any changes because we're not going to rely on the alerting for that, and so on. Again, not a lot of information that we need here. We don't need any integrations. Let's go ahead and create our check. So now we see our Nobl9 websites that is being pinged right here. Right now, we don't really have anything going on. I'm just going to leave this at the last 24 hours. It's going to happen once every minute. So that was simple. We create a check in Pingdom, and you can do for whatever websites that you want to check here. So we're going to leave this for now, and we're going to go ahead and go back to Nobl9 and create our first integration. So this is the view of the Nobl9 platform. This is where you land to see all of your SLO data. This is my account, so I don't have a lot of SLO data here, but this is how they would look like. So each one of the SLOs are going to be showing in a box where you can see you can have either different targets for your SLOs, or you can have one target for that SLO. What we see here, we got our reliability burned down. We got our error budget remaining, which in this case, we have consumed our error budget, so we are on the negative sense, and we got our burn rate as well. We got our remaining, and this is also another experience for that same SLO as well. And at the bottom, you can see that for this one, we actually got 32 seconds of error budget left. And you can see all of the other information as part of that as well. We got our 900, we got our target, and you can simply just click and see what is the query or the metric or the SLI data that you're bringing in. So let's go back here and look at this. So we created our ping check, going down, we created our check, and the create data source, you got all of the information you want from it right down here. So let's go ahead and create that. We get our integrations tabs, which is at the bottom. As you can see, I got multiple different integrations. And one of the beauty of Nobl9 is that we have plenty of partners that you can bring data from. So it's not just the Pingdom, because you could be getting your checks from Pingdom. You could be getting your logs from Sumo Logic. You can have data on CloudWatch, AWS, bring monitoring infrastructure in New Relic, and so on. That we actually heard from a lot of different customers out there that there's anything between 5 to even like 20 different data sources in really enterprise companies out there, that they're just different teams or in a different part of the world, they're using different tools. So that's what Nobl9 comes in and gives you that context from all of these different data sources that you have. We're just looking at the very, very same SLO data, regardless of the tool that is coming in from. So we're going to go ahead and create a Pingdom one. For that, we're going to use a direct. We got a direct and an agent. So agents, direct is just connecting directly through the internet using an API key or different type of connections based on the data source that you're using. And for agent is a way that you can run this behind your proxy. And you run this agent for Nobl9 right alongside your server, your internal server. If you want to have it on-prem, you can do that as well and send data directly to Nobl9. So for the direct, we need some information. So we need an API token, and the rest are just informations that we get from Nobl9. So let's go ahead and get that API token. Going back to Pingdom, in the setting, we got Pingdom API. And for that, we can just add an API token. We're going to give it a name. Actually, I'm going to take Nobl9 out because it's just a webinar. Doesn't really matter if you get read or write access or just read access. We're going to do it read write just to make sure everything's good. So this is the data that we need. So this is our API token has been created. This is the information that we need. We're just going to go ahead and copy that. It's got copied to our clipboard and we're good. Let's go down here. We're going to drop in this API token here and projects. Oh, actually, my bad. I think I kind of like skipped over the services. We're going to go back and then create the service in a second as well. But one of the most important things is you do need a project first, but you can also create it right here and there. So we're going to name this webinar 22. Actually, let's just say we're still in May. Yes, time flies. So we got our information for that data source created, and we're good. Currently, we don't have any SLOs or services as part of that. We're going to go ahead and do that. So we got our second part done. Going back to our agenda back here, we created our data source, we grabbed the information that we needed. Now we're going to go ahead and create a service. So for creating a service, we offer a catalog. So in that catalog, you can see all of the projects that you have, and you can also see all of the services that you have. Nobl9 offers labels, so you can attach that labels to your services, to your alerts, and you can also do it with your SLOs. We're going to go ahead and create create a service that we're going to use. Each project needs to be attached. Each service needs to be attached to a project. So we've got our webinar projects, and for our service, we're going to use again webinar May 22. I should have added that name up there too. Well, we're good. We got, oh, actually, let's create some labels. We can attach one right here. For the data source for this, we got Pingdom, and we're good. We got our services created. So now we have our integrations done. We got our service created, and the next step, actually, next step for us would be to go and create our first SLO. Let me see if the data has started flowing in for this for this kingdom. Check. We should have some data now. There you go. We got one data point, which is fine. You know, we just created this, but we are having some text that is going in. So keep in mind that deciding what target and threshold that you need to be setting for your SLI data is actually very important, but it's an iterative process. So you might not necessarily know all the time what would be the perfect number for your SLI data that you should set. So since we have one data, I wanted to actually show you how you create ones, but let me just take you really quickly to a New Relics and kind of talk about why and where we should just start with setting our SLO. So let's take a look at one of these charts. I'm going to open this view query and run this in query builder. So now let's focus on this one weight line, the green ones. So you can see when we have a time series that is going on, you get different data points that is coming in. So we want to make sure that to understand what is the threshold that is important for us that we want to be below, and what is the area that we want to actually consume error budget. So if I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that this one jump up here in 2.36K for the wait time is actually looking a lot larger than everything else. So this is an area maybe I want to consume some error budgets. So for me, if I want to start, maybe I'll set up an error budget like a target threshold at 1.5K. For one of my targets. Maybe I want to know a little bit more about 1K as well, because maybe this one was something that I wanted to have error budget consume. So this is basically where you start. And that's where SLO helps you to really understand what is that threshold that you want to be informed about and where you want to burn your error budget. Because if you're promising your customers, for example, the 5 nines, and then you're looking at your SLO, and every time that you're consuming that SLO, you get to a point that is like, by the end, I still have 80% or 90% of my error budgets remaining. So maybe that's a time that you can actually be more reliable, or tell your customers you're going to add more nines, or you can lower your threshold of spending time on reliability because you're always ending up with that 80-90% error budget. So you have so much resources that you are allocating to reliability, which you don't need to, because when you assign an error budget, ideally you want to consume it by the end of the month. It's not something that you can just keep and roll over. So I just wanted to kind of point out that it's a mindset about SLOs. And we also just started a whole new concepts about how you start your journey with an SLO. It's called SLO DLC. There's a website for that as well, so you can just look it up and then really follow the process. And we're here to help if you're just at the beginning of your journey for your SLOs, or you're in the middle of it. We're here to help with all of that concepts, with all of that culture building, and all of the questions you have around how these SLOs work. So let's go back to our reports. We got our 465 millisecond here. So I'm going to just drop back here and then go to your service level objective. And now let's go ahead and create an SLO. The button right up here is going to show us our service. So the service that we just created was the webinar May 22. We're going to go ahead and choose our data source. We got our webinar here. So now we need a check ID. Every data that is coming in, they have their different tool, the different informations. For New Relic that I was just showing you, we need that NERCL query. For Grafana or for Prometheus, we also need your PromQL query. So we're talking about what metrics you want to bring over. And for this case, we want to get a check ID so we know which, because we already connected to your account. All we need to know is just what are we checking. And the check ID is something that's a little bit hard to find because they don't really show it right out there, but you have it right up in this URL. So we got this number 113788475. Actually, let me go. Sorry, my laptop just asked me stuff. So we're going to copy this, bring it down here, and drop it right there. So there are different status, up or down and unconfirmed. We can just choose them all. It's all good. Doesn't, it really depends what you're looking at. But for this use case, we're just going to use all of them. And now we're going to go ahead and define our time window. We offer two different time window. One is rolling and one is calendar aligned. Rolling is basically you're looking at a certain time, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 week, and then by the end, you're done, your budget, recovers. But we also offer calendar online. And it's good to note that depending on the subscription that you have with Nobl9, we hold on to your data. You have a data retention between 6 months up to 2 years. So you could create SLOs for a year, you can create SLOs for a quarter, and so on. And that capability is something that is available for you right here and there. But for this purpose, because we want to see data fast, we're just going to go for a 1 hour rolling window. And now we get to our calculations. Keep in mind, you can add multiple objectives. We're just going to do that as well. So the number we were looking at was 456. So I'm just going to say 95% of the time, I'm going to have an okay experience where the value is less than, let's say, 500. But 99% of the time, let's just drop another 9. I want to have this experience is bad if the value is less than 1,000. So now we got these two values created, but just remember the 500 came in directly because of this 4,655 that we have. Let's see if we got any more data points. Yeah, basically that's why we chose that. We get our objectives, and now we're just going to give it a name, and let's say webinar May SLO, and just keep in mind that this is actually creating itself. So all you need to do is just give it a display name, and then we have a Kubernetes friendly or YAML friendly name right here and then. And you can attach alert policies. I don't really have any alert policies created. We're going to go ahead and do that, and then we attach it later on. But I can add some labels. Let's say goal webinar, and that's good enough. And I can also actually use to put a link here. So I'm going to say pingdom check, and I'll go ahead and grab this link and bring it down here and drop it right there. And description, you can put anything that you wish. And we're going to go ahead and create our SLO. As simple as that. Now we got this SLO down here, which is waiting for data. If I've done everything correctly, which I hope I have, then we're going to get all the data funneling in. So while we do that and while we wait for that, let's go ahead and take a look at our SLO, at our lab. We created our part 4, created our first SLO. Just going to see for the data. And again, if you want to see, I mean, the recording is available, but if you also want to cover yourself after this call, all of these details are right here. I'm showing you exactly where we can get all of this data. So now we are in the part 5, creating an alert. For the alert is similar to an SLO as well. You're going to create a service, and then you're going to attach that SLO to that service. So for alert as well, you're going to create a data source, and then we're going to create an SLO that grabs the data from there. And for alert is the same thing as well. We're going to create our alert integrations, and once we do, we're going to attach that alert to that integration. So we're going to use a Slack for this, and let's go take a look. Oh, look, we already got data. The data is already coming in from SLO Pingdom. We're going to get into it in just a second. Let's go create our integrations. So you saw that for the sources, we create our integrations for the webinar right here. And now we're going to go ahead and create an alert method. Let's go ahead and create that. We support multiple different ways of alerting. We got email if you just want to create and send an email to a group or whatever that you wish. We also got communication channels, Discord, Slack, Microsoft Teams, PagerDuty, or sometimes you just want to create a Jira ticket. Nobody needs to really take a look at this alert right here and then. So you can create a case for it. Somebody comes and check on it later on. We also offer webhook, which is one of our strongest tools features that we have out there because it's fully customizable. A lot of times, a lot of our customers talk about how you would, for example, you want to just skip through, skip through just like pinging somebody or getting resources for that. So you can easily create that customized webhook that hits a server, does a runbook, allocate more resources to that. So you'd be just good enough. Again, customizable webhook. We had all this information right here and then, and we have our documentation as well. And feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you if there's any questions around any of these things that I'm covering today. And if you want to go in more depth, I'm happy to spend some time and go in more details. So now let's do Slack. So for the Slack, we need a webhook URL. You got your incoming webhook URL Slack channel here. So clicking on this, you got all of the information right here, and then you can follow this. And let me see if I can follow this and get my incoming webhook. So create a Slack channel. I'm already logged in. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go ahead for this alert notifications and for adding features and functionality, incoming webhook. And this is the URL I'm looking for. I did mention I have all of these steps in this slow comp, but just do remember it needs to start with hooks.slacks.com. If you have worked with the Slack, this is basically any integrations that you do with the Slack. So all we need is this information. I'm going to go ahead and drop this URL here, and we're going to attach this to a project webinar, and we're saying webinar. Let me just a little thing. Great. Alert method, create it. Let's send a test alert notification. Test, let me go right here and bring this to you. Well, let me go somewhere that I don't have any screens open. Boom, right here. Let's bring the Slack and take a look at it. There it is. We got our alert notifications. 12:25 is 12:26. Just went out. So we are all good. This is working. Let's get back to what we were doing. So now we actually went through everything we wanted to go through to create it. Oh, actually, yeah, well, let's do one more left. We're going to actually create an alert and attach it to our SLO. So we got our Slack notifications done. And now we're going to go ahead and create an alert. There are 3 different ways that you can get alert in Nobl9. One would be your error budget would be exhausted, which is a very, very strong way of looking at an alert. Because what we're doing here, we're saying that the current conditions that you have, you're consuming your error budgets. But if this condition lasts for a certain amount of time, then you're going to have a problem in a certain amount of time. So for example, if you're burning your error budget with the same rate over the next 20 minutes, then you're going to exhaust your error budgets within 1 hour. So maybe you should take action right now so you wouldn't have all of your error budget being consumed. The second one is error budget remaining. How much error budget is remaining? This is very simple because once you create those SLOs, one of the powerful capabilities that SLO gives you is just to bring context around all of the teams. Some of you might have experienced this before, that your SRE manager says that we need to be more reliable. Your product manager says that we need to ship more features, and people are just keep going different ways, and they don't really have, they can't really make that decisions, which one should they focus on. And that's where these SLOs come in very, very useful, because everybody agrees on SLO. If we have error budget over 50, we're going to do features. If we have error budget below 20%, we're going to do reliability. And an alert like this can really bring that context to those conversations that you have around your within your team. Lastly, we got our error budget burn rate, which is basically how fast you're burning your error budget. Ideally, you want to be at 1x, because again, remember, we talked about it. You have a budget, you want to consume it. And if you're not consuming it, then you need to rethink how you're allocating your resources. So this is basically saying if you're burning it 20, 30, 100 times more, you can create an alert for that as well. So for this purpose, we're just going to keep it at error budget remaining. Let's see, we're just going to drop it 50. Select our alert methods. Again, we're going to create our projects, display name, remaining budget 50%. Actually, sorry, budget 50%. No need for this. And you can also assign a severity. Is it low? Is it medium, high? These are all the informations that when you're getting the notifications, they're all going to be showing up right there. Labels. Let me just attach, actually, no, there. We had goal, webinar, boom. And now we're going to select that alert methods. Well, and this is actually another cool thing about our alerting as well, because you create your methods and then you can attach as many as you want. Sometimes you want to create a Jira ticket. You also want to send an email. You want to create a Jira, or like you want to PagerDuty or also Slack. You can do multiple for the same one as well. But for now, let's just go for the integrations that we created. Slack, create alert policy. So now we got this here. We got our webinar going, remaining 50%. We're pretty much done. Let's go back to my SLO and see if it's done anything to, yeah, there you go. It's actually yelling at me for my error budgets. So now I have 0 budget remaining on this one. So I'll just wait because this just happened and we just created an alert. And then if it came up again throughout this conversation, I'll bring it back up. But we're here now. We created an SLO. Let's look at and see what are the data that we see here. So all of that information that we entered for your SLO, they're all here. We got the projects, name, that 1 hour rolling that we defined. And this is actually a really cool feature that we have, because based on the information that you defined, we're telling you that 95% gives you 3 minutes. But look at this, 999 gives you 3 seconds. So a lot of times people in the management, they don't really, they go out and say, we need to be reliable 5 nines, 6 nines, but it's a huge difference once you add that 1 more 9. So this shows you how a few percentage could change dramatically between 3 minutes to 3 seconds. What is that? 3 seconds, 3 minutes is like 1/82 versus 3. So it's a very, very huge difference. So up here, we got our SLI data. Look at that metric. We brought that check ID for the status up, down, and unconfirmed and unknown. This is the raw SLI data that we get. And you can up here, right next to that P95 percentile, you can see that value that is coming in. Down here, we got our OK experience, which is below 500. You can see we really don't have our budget remaining because we're consuming it very fast. But for the 1,000 one, we're doing good. So this is another chart. And down here, that's that burn rate, error budget burn rate. So we're burning it 20 times, 18 times more. These are the type of alerts that we can create, but we just created that 1 hour error budget remaining. Another thing I want to point out is we also offer annotations. So a lot of annotation is basically you can put an annotations on your accounts, which is right here. You can say this is for the webinar check, if I can spell, and you can actually create that annotation and you put it right here and it's going to stay on all of the charts, as you can see. And if I hover over it, I can see it. I can add another one on top of it, or I can add another one maybe later on or even before it. And this is the second check annotation. You could also hover and drag and drop on the chart. So if I just want to focus on this part, I can just drag it and now I can see more details of what's happening. You could also eliminate, if you just want to look at the bad experience or the okay experience, you could also just click on this and grab that information as well. So let me just take a pause here. Seems like all the questions are being answered by the other 2 amazing SEs that we have. So is there anything that I need to check? Let me just walk through. Is there anything that I should show and I missed? Are we good with all the questions, team?
Yep, we're good. Perfect.
So again, I want to point out that we have this alerting, we have this SLO Conf Lab. If you want to watch the recording and follow through, you can certainly do that. But all of the steps that I went through up to this point are available right here and right there. So again, if you joined late, it's fine. You have these resources available. But now what I'm going to show you is not something that is here. And that is my favorite part. which Nobl9 offers you a full-on binary that you can interact with your account. So when we call that a slow cuddle. This slow cuddle binary gives you multiple different commands that you can do pretty much anything I just did on the account in a YAML format. You can create an SLO, you can edit them, you can create a service, projects, you can attach alert policies, you can add annotations, you can view annotations. There's so much you can do. And we got this documentations, actually we got the documentations for that YAML guide as well. So you can see all of those services that we have, and you can also see all of the different types of interactions that you can do with them as well. So now let me just get some information from the accounts that we just created. So let's say slow cuddle get SLO, and then let's just pipe that into a slow.yaml. Did I just do everything right? Perfect. Wonderful. So now let's open this slow.yaml file. So now up here, let's look at this beautiful YAML. Boom. We got our webinar May SLO, the one that we just created together. We got our name right here, and now this is our pingdom check. This is the URL. You remember that we grabbed that check ID? Basically, all we did is just we injected this check ID into this website, into this URL, and that's what we're pinging. We're getting the information from pingdom. Going down, we have our direct metric data source as a part of webinar projects. Again, we got our check ID, the status that we were looking for, and hey, look, we got two of our objective. 95% and 99.9%. But I would say I don't need to be 999 on this one. So I want to actually change this and set it to 99% because it's more important. And it's not really a bad experience. Let's just say it's a horrible experience. So we're just going to leave it as that. So now I made some changes in my YAML file. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now let's go back up here. We have a command that says apply resources definition, resource definition in YAML or JSON format. So we're going to go ahead and use that. And I have this slow cuddle apply that -f, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that slow.yaml file right here. So now I'm going to apply all of the changes I did to that YAML file to my account with those formats. Let's hope everything goes well, because you never know. There you go, resources successfully created. So now let's take a look at our accounts. What did we do? So we got this SLO down here. I'm going to give it a refresh. And if all has gone well, which it has, we got our May SLO. Look at this. Now we got a horrible experience that is set for 99%. Instead of that 99.5 that we had. And now that 99% gives us 36 seconds instead of 3 seconds. So I wanted to show you how easy it is to interact with this information. So you can grab that YAML file, you can push it back in, and you can do so much more with it. You can grab those annotation informations, you can attach your alert policy. There is a lot that you can do, and it might just look very simple here, but keep in mind that there's a lot of different SLO integrations that could happen within your platform. So if you have a very large number of SLOs and you have different services that you create, you can attach this, you can create a very large YAML file that has your project, different services, many different SLOs. I honestly don't know what is the limit on that. We don't really have a hard limit, but it's very large. So you can create tens of SLOs in your YAML file, and then you can include that in your different deployments. So for example, if you say if a different team is spinning up a different servers, and you're saying you have to have 5 different SLOs for your service, there you go, the YAML file. Just make sure you include that in your deployments, and then you're all set. So with that, this is what I wanted to show you all today. I hope this was useful. Just to recap, we went ahead and used the slowconf.com, the Nobl9 lab, we created a Pingdom account. I mean, we didn't do that here. I already did those. But having a Pingdom account and having a Nobl9 accounts are the prerequisite for this. We went ahead and created a uptime reports in Nobl9. Sorry, in uptime report ping monitor in Pingdom. And within Nobl9, we created ourselves a service, which is right here, webinar May 22. We created integrations with Pingdom using the Pingdom API key. And we also created an integration with the Slack. Then we went ahead and created our SLO. They gave it different targets. We created an integration with a Slack and sent a test notification to Slack. We created an alert. We attached that to our, oh, actually we never attached it to our service, to our SLO. Did we? Let me double check. Sorry, just guessing myself, second guessing myself. Look at that. We didn't put the alert policy here. Remaining budget, 50%, editing it, saving it, done. Sorry about that. I kind of missed that real quick. So it was as simple as that. Like, you know, when you create an, let me just go back there. I got a little nervous, did it very fast. So alert policies, you can simply create them, attach them to your project, and then send them right here. And then you can have multiple ones as well. But now we got that error budget remaining. And guess what? We are below 50% for this one. So let's take a look at our notification that just came in. Let's go to a clear window. Let me bring a Slack. And look at that. We got our notification for the webinar right here, remaining error budget 50%. And we can actually click on this link. Let me copy it, bring it back here, and drop it. Oh, that was, I think I did this copy work. There you go. Copy doesn't work. Just click on it. And this will bring us to the details page of where the error happened. Simple as that. You got your alert, we attached it, we got the information right out. And I think that's pretty much it. And then we went to the slow cuddle binary, used it again, another reminder, we got the documentation here as well. And we grabbed the information from our SLO, we changed it, and we pushed it back. So with that, is there any questions that I do need to address now? I'll just hang out for another few minutes. If there is any questions, I'm happy to answer. And thank you, everyone, my team that answered all the questions that came into the Slack channel, into the Zoom. Sorry, I've just been using multiple different tools, so the names are not necessarily always coming at the time that they're supposed to.
No, thank you so much, Nader. That was great. We got some great questions asked and answered in the chat. No others have come through, but please feel free to send a few more our way, and we can stick around and for the next few minutes and see if we can get those answered. But yeah, thank you again to everyone who was able to join us today. Oh, let's see. I asked a question, but it didn't get answered.
Let's look at that.
Let's see. Hey, interesting workshop. I'm wondering, how do you ensure teams follow up on their error policies and budgets?
Well, that really depends on how you are sending those alerts out. But to answer your question, in a sense that we don't have a records of alerts that are currently showing up in Nobl9, but that is on our roadmap, that we're going to create a system where all of the alerts that have already been fired, you have a record of them in Nobl9. This is one of the main feature requests that we have out there, and we're working on our alert 2.0, and that's going to be a part of that as well. So yes, then that's a way that, you know, one thing that I'm just thinking about it right now, we could actually add an acknowledgement to that alert, that somebody went in, acknowledged it, and did something about that alert, or it could happen in your tool. So if you're sending in a Slack message, it could be acknowledged in the Slack channel, it could be acknowledged in the PagerDuty or Jira. The ticket could be assigned to somebody. That's another way of understanding to how you, whether somebody took actions to that alert. But also I want to point out, annotation is another way that you can, once you create that alert, you can bring it, you can bring in set an annotations there as well.
Awesome, thank you. I just dropped another question in the chat. I'm not sure who asked it. I apologize. It came through as an anonymous attendee. But it asked, SLO looks amazing. I smell there are plans making it a K8s controller so we can have end-to-end GitOps workflow for managing the resources in Nobl9.
Yes, we don't have the controller at this point, but we have a full-on integrated. So let's say, yeah, we don't have a K9 controller, K8 controller at this point. I'm not sure what else could help at this point. Jeremy or Daniel, do you all have any updates on that one? I'm not sure. Because I know we're doing a lot of work on SLO, and that's a part of the OpenSLO as well. So you can find out a lot more about it on openslo.com. But as far as
the K controller it's on the roadmap. It's something we've been discussing internally. But we do allow you to manage your SLOs. Like I have in my demo, like we actually manage SLOs in GitHub. So you can manage the SLOs in GitHub. You can do pull requests, and then they can get pushed out to Nobl9. We do the same thing in GitLab. We actually have something in the GitHub marketplace where it triggers the where you can set it up so it'll trigger an action to publish the YAML up to Nobl9. But we're still working on the actual GitHub, the actual K8 controller where you could do it from within just Kubernetes.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of keep the GitHub repository kind of out of this because we wanted to keep it simple. But this is what Jeremy was talking about. Like we have a demo workflow where you can define an action in your GitHub repository that down here, we can actually grab the informations from your account, or I mean, you can do that on your repository and then get those informations, and then any pull request or action that happens could send that to Nobl9 as far as your YAML file is concerned. Pretty much what I did on a SLO with grabbing the info, changing it and pushing it back in, you could do that as part of your GitHub repository or any of your CI/CD tools.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you for that detail. We don't have any other questions. So I think we can give everyone a few minutes back. Thank you again to Nader and Daniel and Jeremy for joining us today and giving us this awesome demo. We'll be sending out the recording shortly, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again to everyone who was able to attend. We really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.